When Colin Johns looks at a pickleball court, he sees it differently than you and I. When we look at a pickleball court, we see concrete, we see balls, and we see pickleballs. But for Colin Johns, he sees angles that he can create. He sees the geometry of the court, and he sees plays that he can run. He's widely recognized as one of the best players in pickleball history, but what a lot of people don't know is that he's also one of the best coaches in pickleball history. And that's just because of how he sees the court. And that's because every single time that he steps out onto a pickleball court, his mind is focused on learning something new, which is great news for us because he has compiled 15 specific tips that you can follow to instantly improve your game and see pickleball differently. I'm Coach Austin Hardy, and for those of you that are new here, welcome to the Pickleball Playbook YouTube channel. This is a place where you can come and learn tactics, strategies, and techniques to help improve your game faster than you ever thought possible. So if that sounds like you, please do me a favor and yourself a favor and hit that subscribe button. It takes all of 10 seconds, and my promise to you is that I'll be able to keep creating content just like this to help you improve your game. Thank you so much. Let's open the playbook. All right, that brings us to tip number one from Pro Colin Johns, and that is to prep for success. The best way that you're gonna be successful is to make sure that you are prepared beforehand. A quote I absolutely love from scripture is, "If ye are prepared, ye shall not fear." So if we go into a match knowing that we've done everything beforehand to prepare for that match, we're gonna be a whole lot more successful at competing in that match, and we're not gonna have as many nerves as we would if we knew that we didn't prepare and we didn't do everything that we possibly could. Specifically, he talks about bringing a towel, making sure that we're toweling off so that we don't have the excuse of sweat getting in our eyes. You know, stuff as simple as that. Making sure that we're bringing our water and our electrolytes so that we don't get dehydrated. The more prepared that you can show up to a tournament, the better you're gonna play in that tournament. The main thing for me in preparing for a tournament is making sure that I'm hydrated and that my belly is also full. If you ever go to a tournament, you probably will lose your appetite and you won't feel like eating. So what you wanna make sure that you do is force feed yourself. Because if you force feed yourself, that's gonna settle your stomach and make it so that you don't have as many nerves as you do. And it'll also make it so that you can continue to operate your body properly. Because if you don't have food in there, obviously you're gonna be really slowed down, you get really lackadaisical, and you've already lost the tournament. So force feed yourself would be my number one thing to tell you, and make sure that you're drinking enough water, have enough electrolyte, bring towels to wipe off the sweat. Also, sweat bands can be a fantastic thing that you can use as you're out on the court. There's tons of different things that you can do, but just make sure that you're prepared out there. Number one thing is fill up your belly. Number three is that many points are continued just simply because players are hitting out balls. So the way that you can know if a ball is going out is if it is above chest height. Chances are it's going out. The best way to practice this is when you're out drilling. When it doesn't matter, it doesn't count. You're not in a mat. But you can kind of see, have your partners speed up balls at you and see how high on your body they're hitting dependent upon where the ball is landing. So what you'll find is around that chest height, I'm 6 foot, so my chest height is probably gonna be where your shoulder height is, or it might be different if you're 6'4", you know what I mean? So you have to figure out what's right for you. The best way to do that is going to be getting out and getting reps in drilling and just getting out of the way and seeing where it lands. Let's say it lands 3 feet in. It's no big deal. You understand now, okay, if it's coming right here, that ball's most likely going to go in. So I know to hit these balls from now on. Then the next ball comes and it's up here, you get out of the way and you see, oh, it's 2 inches out, or it's a foot out, whatever it might be. Now you've learned, now you're going to change that, especially when you get into actual matches where it counts, to know, okay, I need to get out of the way when the ball is this high. When the ball is this high, it's probably gonna go in. So the best way to practice that is gonna be to get out and drill, but the vast majority of points are continued just simply because people are hitting out balls and they have no idea that they're actually going out. A lot of players know that they're going out and then they get frustrated with themselves. But the only way that you're gonna actually figure that out is by getting out and practicing not hitting out balls. If you wanna improve your game rapidly, you have to get out and you have to drill. And the best way to do that is with the Pickleball Drills app. You can download it on the App Store or on Google Play, or you can go to pballdrills.app on any browser. You'll have access to hundreds of different drills taught by professional pickleball players. They'll give you tips and strategies, all while you're getting out and getting your reps in. So if you want to improve your game, that's the quickest way to improvement. I cannot suggest anything more than the Pickleball Drills app. Be sure to check it out. You can click this link right here, or it will be at the very top of the description of this video. So check it out. Number four is that balls always seem to regress back to the middle. So if you're not sure where your opponent is gonna hit the ball, always guess middle. And something that you can do is called recovering and hovering. So I'm gonna show you what that looks like right now. So every single time that I dink the ball, I'm going to travel towards the ball with my body. I'm gonna point my paddle tip towards the direction of the ball, and I'm going to hover over the kitchen, applying pressure on my opponent. So if I dink the ball cross court, I'm hovering over and I'm applying that extra pressure by reaching into the kitchen. Now instead of them having 7 feet to hit to inside of the kitchen, that turns into like 3.5 feet because I'm reaching in to half of that kitchen. So it applies a ton of pressure on them, and chances are they're either gonna pop up the ball or miss the ball into the net just from me applying that extra pressure. And the brilliant part about this is that the vast majority of their balls are gonna come to that middle position because that's the most consistent position for them. Now, it's not as consistent when I'm hovering over and I'm taking over half of the kitchen. So this can be a fantastic thing to do every single time, is just always assume that your opponents are coming back to the middle of the court, but make sure that you're following the ball. So same exact thing, if I dink up the line, I'm following where the ball is. This is the time when I'm not going back to the middle, but I'm still hovering over the kitchen and making it extremely small for my opponents, applying a ton of pressure on them. As soon as I hit that ball back to the middle or back cross court, I'm hovering over the middle of the court and I'm covering that middle speed up. Number 5 is to hit your drops majority of the time cross court. The reason that you want to hit your drops cross court is because it applies a ton of pressure on your opponent. Whereas if you hit it up the middle, if you have a very active left side player with that forehand in the middle, they're going to get very used to that drop coming up the middle, and you're never going to make it in to the net. Now, it's not a bad thing to hit your drops up the middle so long as you can get them kind of offensive. But if it's just a dead drop coming and it's landing up the middle, it's not gonna be very effective. It's the same if we hit towards either sideline. The main drop that you want to avoid is hitting your drop directly up the line. So if I'm running out for a ball way out wide on this forehand side and I drop it up the line, my opponents can easily earn this ball by just simply jumping over the kitchen and hitting this shot this close to the net. Chances are that point is instantly gonna be over just because they earned the ball. So instead, we're hitting cross court because our margins are way higher. Whenever we hit cross court with our drop, we're going over the lowest part of the net, just like how we talked about before. And since we're going over the lowest part of the net, we're gonna be way more consistent at doing that. We also have way more room to work with whenever we go cross court. So if we view the court from this corner all the way to that corner of the kitchen, we have way more room to work with in comparison to if we hit the ball up the middle of the court. So middle's not bad, and it's not good either, but going cross court is gonna be your best shot because it's gonna be the most consistent shot that you can hit, especially when you hit that ball cross court to the opponent that just returned the ball. Because that player is off balance, they're moving forward into the kitchen and they're not established. So hit your drops cross court majority of the time and avoid hitting your drops up the line. Remember, if you are gonna hit a drop up the middle, make sure it's a more offensive drop and that you're keeping that ball low. Number 6 is that you want to hit your drives either down the line or up the middle of the court and avoid hitting them cross court. Whenever we hit a drive, we're trying to get the ball on our opponent as quickly as possible. So because of this, if we hit our drive cross court, we're giving them way more time to react, first of all, and we're giving them a huge angle to work with that they can then burn our partner down the line. So instead of hitting that ball cross court and giving them that huge angle, giving them all that reaction time, we want to get it on them as quickly as possible. So the saying goes, down the middle solves the riddle. And the reason that it solves the riddle so often is because it causes confusion between the two partners. Whose ball is it down the middle? A lot of players don't know. Plus, they don't have as much reaction time as if you hit that ball cross court. So we go down the middle to cause confusion. We go down the line because chances are if we go down the line with our drive, that next ball is gonna come directly back to us. And if our drive is good and low, then that ball is gonna be an easy ball for us to hit a 5th shot drop. So we're driving that initial 3rd shot down the line, coming in and hitting a drop on that 5th shot. Number 7 is to lob, and to lob often. This isn't something that you are recommended to do by a lot of players, but what lobbing does is it takes you from a neutral position where all players are up at the net and you're lobbing it over their heads so that they have to run back and recover that ball to an automatic offensive position. So we're not hitting a lob because we're on defense necessarily. This tip is specifically about hitting a lob to go from a neutral position to an offensive position, or even a defensive position to an offensive position. And what you'll find is so many players struggle to hit overheads. Okay, they're going to be extremely inconsistent with their overheads, or they don't have a lot of power on their overheads and they try to cupcake it in. So that's all the better for you because either they're going to miss that shot or they're going to cupcake it in. Obviously, you're going to play players that are, 6'6", and lobbing them isn't going to be a good idea. But the vast majority of players, when lobbed, automatically will either lose that point by hitting the initial shot by trying to drop it in and hit a perfect drop. They'll cupcake in that overhead, or they'll miss their overhead. That's what's going to happen the vast majority of the time. So it can be a great changeup. You don't want to use the lob too often, but again, it depends on who you're playing and how they do with defending those lobs that you're hitting to them. Offensive lob can be an absolutely fantastic shot that you can use to take advantage of the point and go from defense to offense. Number 8 is to hit your resets low and penetrating rather than high and lobby. So whenever we're hitting a reset from mid-court and we're in this mid-court position, our resets want to be high and lobby because we have to hit them over the net from this position. But when we're all up at the kitchen line and our opponents speed up the ball and it's coming towards our chest, if we don't have enough time to react and counter that ball back down, we're resetting the ball with our paddle face pointing downwards at our opponents. So the ball's not coming super fast back down to them. It's still a reset, but it's more so drawing a straight line down near their feet / below their knees, anywhere in that position, so that it either causes them to speed up the ball from this awkward position or it just automatically causes an error. Whenever we're resetting from the position of them speeding up the ball and we're up at the kitchen, we want to make sure that we are hitting downwards on that ball and getting it low and penetrating. It doesn't have to be super hard like it would be with a counter because we don't have enough time to react, but we just need to make sure that our paddle face pointed downwards so that it gets down to our opponents as quickly as possible. Like I said, if we're back at mid-court, we have to hit upwards on the ball because we have to get it back up from that low position. Other than that, try to make your resets more deep and penetrating and you'll see huge success. Number 9 is to focus less on the power of your serve and more on the height and depth of your serve. So specifically, you want to try to hit your serve consistently within 3 feet or so of the baseline, but also with some height. The higher up that you can hit your serve, the more difficult a position it is for your opponents to hit the ball. If they're hitting from this position, it's way more difficult than when it's down here and in their strike zone. So I know for me personally, if my opponents have a really high and deep serve, it makes it really difficult for me to hit the shot. The depth makes it possible for you to be able to get advantage of the point because your opponents are leaning back as they're hitting the shot. So it's the two-edged sword. They're both leaning back as they're making contact, causes them to pop the ball up, and they're hitting it from an awkward position. So this combination is a great tool that you can use to be able to take advantage of the point right off the get-go. Number 10 is that the first player to hit downwards on the ball wins the vast majority of points. So a lot of players will try to hit downwards on the ball by actually physically swinging their paddle down. You don't want to do that. You actually don't want to change your motion from one motion to the other. Every single topspin volley that we hit or counter volley, we want to be hitting with the same exact motion, but with a different paddle face. So if our opponents are deep, our paddle face is going to be more neutral here, okay, straight up and down. If our opponents are up at the net, we're turning that paddle face downwards, okay, forehand side, backhand side. We're turning it downwards and we're doing the same exact motion over the ball. Same exact thing on the forehand side, coming over the ball. If my opponents are deep, I'm instead having my paddle face just like this, and I'm brushing outwards towards my opponents. Same exact thing on the backhand side, but notice the difference in my paddle angle if I'm hitting down in comparison to hitting deep. So when our opponents are up at the kitchen line, if we want to win the point and win it instantly, we have to be the first player to hit downwards on the ball. That does not mean that we're actually hitting downwards on the ball. It just means that we're changing that paddle face to come over the ball. Number 11 is to make the strategic decision beforehand on who you guys are hitting your return to and the vast majority of your drops and drives to. So if you guys can figure this out as a team, you're gonna have a strategic advantage on your opponents. So starting with the return, which partner are we gonna return the ball to? Well, that's gonna be the partner that has either the weakest drive or the one that's more inconsistent than the other. Once you figure that out, every single ball should go to that player. Another thing to keep in mind is that you wanna keep the player back that is the most aggressive player, that's the best up at the net, has the fastest hands, has the fastest volleys. So we'd obviously want to hit our returns to that player to keep them back longer. We can keep them back and now we have their partner coming forward that maybe doesn't have as good of volleys. We don't have as much pressure on us. Now specifically when deciding what player to hit drops and drives to, all that we have to figure out is which player has the weakest fourth shot. Now if you don't know the players beforehand, this is going to take some trial and error, okay? Throughout that first half of the first game, you're going to be figuring out who is weaker on that fourth shot, who's weaker with the return. Once we figure that out, then we can hit the vast majority of those balls to them. So we want to be constantly talking to our partner and figuring out, okay, where are we hitting the return to and where are we hitting the third shot to? Number 12 is to look for fifth shot poaches, okay, at every opportunity that we possibly can. So the fifth shot of the rally, we serve the ball, they return, our partner drops the ball and we're sneaking in, or our partner drives the ball and we're sneaking in. We're looking to sneak a poach in. Specifically when we're poaching, we want to make sure that we're not just moving forward and then to the side. We actually want to come in and then go in on an angle. So I'm going to show you guys what that looks like right now. So a lot of players when they poach, they'll just come directly across to this side of the court. Instead, you want to come in on an angle, but the most pivotal thing is that you're moving forward first. You want to make your opponents believe that you're staying on this side of the court. So as my partner hits the drop or the drive, I'm just moving straight forward to make it look like I'm staying on this side of the court. As soon as they begin their motion forward to hit the ball, I'm then going to cut in on an angle across the court. I'm not cutting directly across. I'm also not going forward and then to the side. I'm making sure that I'm coming straight. They begin their motion forward, and then I cut in on an angle. You're gonna be able to cover the court a whole lot better and a whole lot more efficiently as you move also towards the net and towards the sideline. So make sure that you're cutting in on that angle, and it all starts with you making them feel like you're staying on your side by staying forward. So we're forward, and then we cut across. Number 13 is to use timeouts. You can use timeouts to change the momentum of the game. Okay, obviously if your opponents are going on a run and they get up on you, let's say it's 7-4, and they were originally at the side out at 3-4. Okay, they were down. They get up on you 7-4. Don't let them make it to 8. Instead, you want to break that momentum and cause a timeout. It also gives you and your partner time to collect your thoughts, collect your breath, and figure out a new strategy going in. One of the greatest things that I have learned is that all it takes is one good strategy to flip a game around. So if your opponents are up 7-4 and you guys go talk on the bench, have that timeout, and you figure out just one thing, hey, let's try this. Let's just focus on just this one thing. You can flip that game instantly to 11-7 just by focusing on that one strategy. Obviously, if that strategy isn't working and they continue to lengthen that lead and they get up 9-4 or whatever it might be, take another timeout, figure out another strategy with your partner, take that breath, and then you'll change that momentum again. And then obviously if you end up losing the game, well, at least you didn't lose because you didn't have a specific strategy that you were focused on. At least you lost trying your darndest to do the very best that you could. Chances are you are going to win by just simply changing up one strategy and focusing on that throughout the entire rest of the match, so long as it's working. Number 14 is that you don't need to be the best strategist in the world, but at least know who's better at offense and who's better at defense. Sometimes this can be the same exact player. So one of the partners is going to be the better player all around, so we'd obviously want to target the other player. But the vast majority of the time, one player is noticeably better at defense and the other player is noticeably better at offense. So if our opponents are ever in the backcourt, they're behind the baseline, they're transitioning forward, what player would we want to hit to? Obviously, we want to hit to the player that's the more offensive player. Since we're hitting downwards on the ball, we're in an offensive position up at the net. We want to hit it to the player that's not as good at defense. And so we're targeting that player until they get up to the kitchen line. And then anytime that we're hitting a defensive shot up at the kitchen line, we want to avoid the player that has the best offense and instead put it to the player that has the best defense, because they're not going to have better offense than their partner. So when we get up to the kitchen line, we're still hitting to that defender whenever we're on defense. Whenever we get an offensive opportunity, we can hit it more to the player that plays better offense, because they're probably going to speed up the ball from an unoptimal position. They're used to speeding everything up as the offensive player, as the player that's better with offense. Whereas if we just hit every single dink to the player that's better at defense, they're going to be that brick wall. They're going to be that consistent player. So if we want things to be more sporadic and cause more mistakes from our opponents, when we get up to the kitchen line and we have offensive opportunities, we're hitting to the offensive player. When we have defensive opportunities, we're hitting to the more defensive player. So we're running out and getting a ball, try to get that to the defensive player, and you'll stay in the point a whole lot more often because they're not as offensively minded. So even if you do pop up the ball, you're probably going to get away with it because they're going to reset that ball instead of hit it hard like the offensive player would. Number 15 is to do everything you can to just get that extra ball into the court. A lot of players will try to hit a perfect drop whenever they're in a scramble. They think that that's the play to go to. So they'll be running back and forth trying to stay in the point, and then they say, perfect drop on this shot that I'm reaching for and I barely get to. Instead, what you want to do is be driving these shots, because that's what you're going to be more comfortable with, and lobbing at any opportunity that you can to just stay in the point. The offensive or neutral opportunity will come as you keep the ball in the court. So the most important thing, get that ball high over the net, keep it in the court just one more time. It'll cause an error on your opponents. If not, you're gonna have a better chance of getting that next ball, especially if you can get your lob deep and up the middle. Now it's automatically putting you from a defensive position to an offensive position. Don't try to be perfect when you're in a scramble. Just get that extra ball in. I hope that you guys enjoyed that video. Don't forget to subscribe. And if you want to continue improving your pickleball game, watch this video all about the smartest player in pickleball history. I'll see you over there. See you on the next one.